Hello there. Shock horror for the woke lefties. The French voters are moving to the right, with Marine Le Pen strengthening her party's position in the polls. Could this break Brussels? That'll rattle the French and EU establishments. A secret poll that was never meant to be seen was leaked, and it shows that Marine Le Pen and her National Rally party would win a majority in the French Parliament if a snap election were held today. And Emmanuel Macron would lose half his seats in the process. The poll was put together for a centrist party, Les Républicains, in December last year, and it showed Le Pen's party would be on for between 243 and 305 National Assembly seats, with anything over 289 being an outright majority. And only 2 years ago, National Rally leapt to 89 seats. It looks like the people of France have seen through the accumulated socialist in their government and decided to dump them. As the Express says, in essence, voters would be abandoning quasi-conservatives for the real deal, much as seems to be happening in the UK as Reform UK eats into the Conservative Party's ever-decreasing vote share. Except that in a perverse twist in the UK, our voters appear to be choosing the hard left in the form of Keir Starmer's Labour Party instead of the con-socialist party led by Rishi Sunak. Soon we'll have a socialist government in the UK trying to negotiate terms on defence and trade with a very different EU to the one that existed just a couple of short years ago. The EU is shifting very fast to the right, despite what the lefties would have you believe. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see Keir Starmer jetting off to Moscow and Beijing to do a trade deal, as those regimes' values and politics probably align better with the Labour Party than this new EU will. And remember, there's the EU Parliament elections due in 3 months' time. Wonder how far that will swing to the right. And Starmer won't be able to rely on the USA either, because if he goes over there to try and make some sort of deal, Biden won't know who he is or why he's there, and the other option would be to wait until Donald Trump is back in the White House. Not sure how that would go down with his party if Starmer even went to talk to Trump. They'd probably much rather he jetted off to Pyongyang to meet Kim Jong-un. Will we see an isolated UK, an outlier whose government is completely out of step with the rest of the Western world? Remember, even in Canada they've had enough of Justin Trudeau. And it's not like we'll be best buddies with Israel once Labour gets into power, is it? But Starmer will have many in the Middle East to get a deal with. After all, he does like to support their cause in the UK, doesn't he? So, as he will be shutting down North Sea oil and gas, he'll want to be buying more of their oil and gas. And part of the price might be a few more visas issued out. And voting rights. You get the idea. And if you want to know where Labour's loyalties lie, you need look no further than the London Borough of Greenwich, where the council consists of 52 Labour councillors and just 3 Tories, where the councillors ordered the Cypriot owner of the Golden Chippy, Chris Knitzy, to tear down a mural on the outside of his shop that depicts a fish with a bag of chips proudly holding a Union flag. And next to it are the words, "A Great British Meal." One frequent visitor to the area said, "It's a British flag. We're in Britain. The owner's a Cypriot, and if it's them who have put it up, surely you can see that it's not offensive." While the Mail says, defiant owner of the chip shop, Chris, said that despite being Cypriot born, he is more British than a lot of people, and the mural was expressing his love for his adoptive home. Greenwich is, according to what I've read, just over 50% white British. But I bet if someone painted the Palestinian flag on their wall, there would not be a murmur from the Labour councillors. In fact, I bet they'd be round there in a flash for a photo opportunity. So you can imagine the flowing of tears and wailing should the EU continue its lean to the right as elections come and go. We will have to isolate ourselves from the far-right EU, they will scream, while Brexiteers look on in envy and grab their blue UK passports for a quick visit to the newly enlightened land. But what may really worry the Brussels powers that be is that right-wing parties usually bring some form of nationalism with them. And with the sole object of the EU existence being ever closer union, it will bring the plans of the Brussels bureaucrats to a shuddering halt for maybe quite some time. Interestingly, I'm not sure that the Marxist march through the institutions has been any less rigorous in much of the EU as it has been in the UK. But it seems that the EU electorate is waking up to the dangers of creeping socialism far faster than we in the UK have. Otherwise, Keir Starmer would look as miserable in the polls as the Tories do. In fact, he's still sitting pretty, despite no one having a scoobies of what the Labour Party would do when in power. Although I think most of us realise there's going to be a shuddering lurch left. Inward migration will rocket even further. The asylum acceptance rubber stamp will have a turbocharged V8 attached to it, and the national debt and taxes will probably double in order to pay for their net zero plans. And the UK will be touted as the global beacon for newcomers, woke and net zero greenery. So it won't be long before there's more windfall taxes all round, driving businesses abroad, and wealth taxes will start working their way down the pay scale. They might even start a white privilege tax, although it seems the Tories might already have set that up, looking at the way society is now forming. All while Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves and David Lammy jet out to Davos to get their next set of instructions and fly back to the UK to impose the next globalist punishment beating on the people of the UK. Remember, Keir Starmer has openly said he prefers the Davos way of doing things over the Westminster method. Democracy doesn't seem to be his strong point. And I do have to wonder how much effect Tony Blair and his institute are having on Starmer's thinking, if there is any thinking, given Starmer only has to sit on his hands to be elected into number 10. While over the channel we might start seeing politicians shying away from the likes of the WEF and the Bilderberger Group. Now Labour has declared they'll do a military deal with the European Union, which I take to mean he would join the EU joint military project. But would he really hand over control of our intelligence services and the Navy, Marines, Army and RAF to a potentially hard right EU? You bet he would. And he'll sign the WHO pandemic treaty if the Tories don't get round to it.